Hey guys, welcome to the only live webcast that brings you the passion, the power, and the pulse of the mighty One New Zealand Warriors. This is Ruin Hammer Live. No stone left unturned as we dive deep into everything Warriors. Joining me tonight, as usual, is my co-host and fellow Warriors tragic, Warrior Roo. Rob, how you been, mate? How's things up there post
Post
ex-cyclone
post Alfred.
Alfred? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going all right. Like the cleanup continues, obviously. Yeah, there's a lot of damage done. I don't know if anyone's seen the Gold Coast photos, but they're starting to try and fix up the beaches there. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy. As at the moment, as you can see in the background, I'm not in my usual little podcast den. I'm actually staying at my parents' place because we're getting new vinyl flooring put in. So literally all the furniture I picked up off the floor and out in the patio. So we're sort of camping out here. Luckily, they're away for a couple of weeks, so it worked out perfect timing. But
Yep.
geez, it's a pain picking up and moving absolutely everything. But yeah, got all the old carpet ripped off that had been there since about 1980, and yeah, got some nice new vinyl planks, and then the carpet goes on the weekends after that. That'd be nice. Perfect. Yeah.
Nice.
What about yourself,
Nice.
mate?
How about
How's your week been?
my week's been fine? How's your roof situation? That's what I want to know.
Oh, the roof. Oh, the never-ending roof. Yeah, look, I've got quite a few leaks. Couple that I knew about before Alfred. One or two that have popped up since Alfred.
Yep.
So yeah, I've got a specialist coming out to look at it because far out these got these really annoying leaks, and I've been telling you about it for a long time. But just these leaks that seem to happen only when water's obviously pooling up somewhere. It's really hard. They've had
Yep.
that many roof tilers go up and have a look, and they're just like, yeah, we can't figure out how the water's getting in there. So hopefully this new guy gets to the bottom of it because I tell you, it's like it's actually dripping water is actually causing me mental anguish because it's one of those things. It's almost literally like what is it they call that Chinese
Chinese
water
water
torture or
torture.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It feels a little bit like that. So I don't mind telling you, I'll be so happy when they finally get to the bottom of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
out of power for 5 days, mate. That's a tough break.
Mm.
Some people were still out of power until the weekend.
Yeah.
So that was like a long, long time. I think, yeah, a lot of people on the Gold Coast and even a few people out my way in Redlands as well. It's weird how the grids work. If you look at
Yep.
it on the Energex website and everything, and it's like sometimes with us, the next street over has power, but we don't. You
Yeah.
look at the grid, so they sort of converge like that. Then the properties in here have got power, and then either side doesn't. So yeah, one of those weird things beyond me.
It
But
is, mate.
yeah,
But yeah, mate, my week's been good. Just same old stuff. Nothing exciting.
yeah.
Started off very well last Friday night, and we'll get straight into that, mate. Because as tipsters, we are shocking.
What do we know about footy, eh? What do we know?
I am so happy that they proved me wrong.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I said last week I couldn't see where our points were going to come from, and we put on a show after leaking early points. We put on a show to beat Manly 36-16 at home at Go Media Stadium. Great way to start the season at home.
Brilliant.
The Fortress, we're undefeated at home. Mate, what were your thoughts on the game? Have you got the list of try scorers, there in front of you, or you don't?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was Chanel Harris Tavita, Tane Tuapiki, Ali Leatawa, Wade Egan, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and Luke
Luke
Metcalf all going
Metcalf.
over for tries.
Yep.
Lukey Metcalf kicking 6 from 6.
Yes.
Because after Vegas, when he had a couple of tough shots and he missed, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be our Achilles heel again. But yeah, look, in terms of the game itself, it was not a great start. And I think what we all expected happened in about the third or fourth minute. I think Manly just did a quick spread. Pretty ordinary read from Rog, and Saab was down the sideline and putting Tommy Turbo away for that early try. And I think we're all sort of dropped our heads and thought, yeah, that's what we thought was going to happen. And I think, and right before that, we'd had a little bit of possession, but had a really poor end to the set. It was a pretty average kick from Metcalf. So yeah, at the start we started off looking a bit sort of muddled in attack again as well.
Yeah.
But then we sort of really warmed into our task. We got quite a lot of six agains, which definitely helped us get down
Yeah,
the end, and it was
Manly
really
very ill-disciplined in this game, weren't they?
Yeah, and like we got down there, and then I was thinking to myself, like, we've got to start putting these points on the board, because if we don't, it's going to be a repeat of last year, where we just had all the possession, back-to-back sets, and just couldn't score, and then they go down the other end and score straight away. And it seemed like Manly that had speed to burn, and they bombed about at least two tries in that first half as well, with some poor execution. Tommy Turbo had a relatively poor night for his standards as well, not quite icing some of those opportunities, which was lucky for us. But yeah, mate, it's just so good to beat Manly, because they have tormented us for years. We have, I think, one of our poorest records overall is against Manly. There was some ridiculous record back in the day when the Stewart brothers were there, that Brett played his whole career without ever losing to the Warriors, which is unbelievable. I think same with one of the Morris boys.
I was going to say, Brett Morris as well. Yeah,
it's crazy. They're probably the two teams we have the worst record against. Historically, would be Manly and the Dragons, but now it's definitely Melbourne.
Yep.
We haven't beaten them in 10 years, but yeah, it was great to get a win over them. Great to put some points on the board, and overall, just a comment overall before we get into the nitty gritty of the game. It was really great that when we had those two, I'd say howlers in terms of tries awarded to Manly. One of them was worse than the other. I think the Saab one, where he dead set threw it onto the ground. I don't know how there wasn't enough evidence to overturn that. Anyway, the DCE one was touch and go. Like, I could live with that either way, because you couldn't conclusively tell that his foot was on the line.
What got me with that one, though, was that they didn't look at DCE. They only looked
at Garrick.
Didn't.
Yes.
And DCE looked just as close to the line, and they didn't even look at that. And that's what pissed me off about that try being awarded.
Yeah, I can only assume that the bunker has like extra footage that they can look at, because sometimes they put try confirmed like really quickly before we've seen any other footage on the TV.
Yeah.
I have noticed that, so you have to assume that they were looking at the DCE, or they cleared that already. But the Saab one, that was diabolical. And I think in years gone by, the team would have just sort of like dropped their heads and dropped their bundle a little bit. We saw it happen a few times last year when things didn't go our way and we kind of imploded. But I'm just kind of thinking, I made a couple of comments about this on some of our social media posts this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that has to do with the experience of James Fisher-Harris. So he's come into this team. He's a guy who knows how to win. He's come from a winning system, and he's got a lot of experience. And he's saying to these young guys, "Hey, we're still in the lead here. Let's not drop our heads. Don't drop our bundle. We're still in this." And like, it was great to see that we kind of rose above that. And then after each of those tries were awarded, we responded with a try.
Yes.
And got back out to that 14-point buffer, which was all important. But overall, much improved. Like, we left all that crap in Vegas, and we came back a brand new team. And look, I know we were a little bit down the dumps last week, a little bit critical, but we sort of call it as we see it. And we always say we are more than happy to be proven wrong.
Absolutely.
And I'll say that about any of the players that I've maybe said anything negative about or whatever. But I'm always glad to see anyone in the Warriors jersey doing well. Don't care who it is. They're wearing our jersey, right behind them.
Yeah. For me, there was one point after Manly scored their first try. There was one thing in that game. There was a little outside-inside play midway through that first half, just before Chanel scored his try, where Clark went to Fish on the outside, and then Fish passed back to Lukey Metz on the inside. And that looked really good. And at that time, I thought, ooh, there's some creativity in our play tonight. Because that's something that we haven't seen for a while. And then, obviously, we got the numbers on that left side. CHT found some space and he scored. And, mate, how good was Tane's try? That was
unbelievable.
Just, pure solo effort. Got the ball on the last, really had nowhere to go. And he just literally put his head down and used his footwork to beat several Manly defenders to get us out.
Something out of nothing. Really like literally something out of nothing. Just picked up the ball and and scored a try. And that's what he can do. That's what he brings, and that's why I'm like really excited about having him in the team, no matter where it is. Like I really feel like he should ultimately end up a fullback, but well, you don't change a winning team, do you? So.
No. And then the Ali Lautua try, the ball that Luke Metcalf put on his chest for that try, that showed Metcalf was growing in confidence in his role within that team. He's had the backing of the coach all week when everyone else was down on him, but it also showed just how good a line runner Ali Lautua is.
Very, very hits it. Yeah. I think Murata can take a few lessons from that.
Absolutely. And I actually thought like there was so much energy and enthusiasm and in that first half that got us the momentum that we needed to get out to that lead. I was fearful that halftime was going to be our worst enemy. I was fearful. Yeah. I was really fearful.
The momentum killer.
And I thought Manly came out and scored first in that second half, and I thought, here we go again. Here we go again. But then they had that error. Wade Egan picked up that loose ball, and then 2 plays later, he dove over for his try. The DCE try.
I think the first instalment of the TB 122 was Wade Egan in space. At no point did you feel confident he was going to get to the try line.
No, not at all. And then, there was a try that we just spoke about, the DCE try. And that, as you said, that decision could have been the decision that broke our spirit, but it didn't. And I think you're right. I think that's where a guy like James Fisher-Harris and, to a lesser extent, Mitch Barnett, as the leaders of this club, really come into their fore. And it just showed that the team's got some resilience and some resolve about it this year.
Yeah.
Manly repeatedly offside. I think it was after 11 set restarts they
finally copped the sin bin with
they got someone.
Yeah.
I loved Rogers' try. Showed a lot of effort to get to the try line there.
RTS of old a little bit. Yeah, he just burrowed down and got there.
And then obviously the Taint Tuapiki intercept, which sealed the win, got Luke Metcalf a try, and coincidentally got Hammer a same-game multi.
That's right. Go you good. More ways than one.
Yeah, had the Warriors to win, had Ali, Saab, Roger, and Metcalf to score. So that got me a nice little multi. Yeah, I was impressed with the bounce back after Vegas. You spoke about that just before. I was really impressed that, and I think the fact that they didn't have to play the very weekend straight after Vegas, they had a bit of time to reflect, talk about what happened, get that out of them. I thought the kicking game of both Metcalf and CHT improved, but it's still not great. But there was improvement, but those guys will get better week in, week out, given the opportunity, I think. You mentioned
still a little bit, still a little bit of that sort of just kicking for the sake of it, just putting it up. Doesn't feel like we sort of kick for territory, but it's definitely the game plan in 2023. But
Taine looked dangerous with every touch of the ball. Clark, I thought Clark in the middle was outstanding. He's proving to be the right choice to start in that 13 jersey. And I thought we won the game with our defence. I thought our defensive pressure took guys like Turbo and DCE out of the contest, and then they literally took themselves out of the contest. Turbo left
we
the
have
field
to cut down their time. That's the only way to stop those guys is to reduce their time. Like DCE, and then obviously Turbo, and then like trying to jam in and cut off those overlaps where they can exploit us with their speed.
And that's the thing. I think there was periods in that game where our defence forced Manly to kick from within their own 30, and Manly's strength is their speed on the edges. We nullified our defence, and our pressure defence created those good ball opportunities where Manly, made some uncharacteristic mistakes with the pressure that was on them, and it allowed us to play some wise football in their 20 and 30. injuries to both Turbo and DCE. Manly finishing the game with only 12 players on the field because they've gone through all their replacements. That the game was out of their reach at that stage anyway. The Warriors were already up 30-16, and then got that last way in the final minutes. All in all, what a fantastic result.
Over here, the media, we were having a bit of a chuckle about this, particularly in the group chat. Over in Australia, it's almost like they didn't even watch our game because they were reporting Warriors hold on against a depleted Manly team.
Yeah.
And it's like we won by 20 points and their big guns went off in like the last 10 to 15 minutes. You know, like it's... Yeah, but anyway, we should expect that. Great to see everyone in the chat, by the way. Great to see all you guys in there. Welcome back, Sean, one of our old Patreons. So good to have you back as well.
Yes. Some first half stats, mate. Some key stats for the first half. The Wars had 31 tackles to 0 inside the opponent's 20 metre. We had 55 tackles to 7 inside the opponent's half, which showed the dominance. 91% completion rate. We had 13 tackle breaks and 3 line breaks and 3 offloads. 7 missed tackles to Manly's 18. And Manly gifted us 7 set restarts to 0. And then overall... that carried on into the game. 16 mixed tackles we had in that game compared to Manly's 40. We had 7 offloads, 40 tackle breaks, and finished the game with 91% completion, which is, they're the stats that win you the game. Couple of key player stats. James Fisher-Harris at the front, 130 run metres, 45 post-contact metres, 1 tackle break, 1 offload, and 40 tackles. Mitch Barnett, 120 run metres, 47 post-contact, 33 tackles. Wade Egan, absolutely outstanding in the middle, 143 run metres, 40 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 offloads, and 41 tackles with no misses. Aaron Clark, 149 run metres, 56 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks, and 22 tackles. Mate, those 4 guys in the middle of the park really did the work, to lay the platform for our good win. CNK 171 run metres, Tane 100 run metres, RTS 167 at the back. It was just a very good, well polished round 2 performance. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It is only round 2. But if that's the style of footy we can put out in round 2 after the beating that we copped in Vegas, then things are looking up. And we've got 2 very important games coming up over the next 2 weeks before we head off to the bye. So, I agree, Jacko. Clark is an absolutely great signing. I kind of lamented last year and thought we just got a cheaper version of Jazz Tavanga. I thought he'd be on less money because he wanted to go home and they didn't want to offer Jazz bigger money. So we let Jazz go and brought Aaron Clark in. But Aaron Clark's got more dimension to his game than what Jazz does.
Way more. Yeah, way more impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think he's been a great signing and he's really taken that 13 role with Tohu's retirement very well. Incidentally, speaking of Tohu, what did you think of the pre-game little ceremony where they presented Tohu to the crowd and then he presented the oar to both James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Barnett? What do you think, mate?
Mate, that was outstanding. That was like kind of really stirring moment, I thought. And nobody does this kind of stuff like us. Like we pay attention to all these little things. We put a lot of obviously emphasis and importance on captaining the side. And I mean, I know there's Tohu himself has made comments in the past that he goes, I don't want to just be given the captaincy, I want to earn it.
Yes.
I want the players to sort of acknowledge that I'm the best fit to lead this team. And when I saw that, it was like, hair standing up on the back of your neck and everything. It was just a really sort of powerful moment, the way that those 2 guys just walked out and received the captaincy. And very symbolic. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the inspiration and set the tone for the rest of the evening. But he's going to be sorely missed, Tohu. He was a great leader without being like vocally, he
was like Mannering
there. It's like, follow me, do as come with me, boys, and we'll get the job done that way. And I think with the two guys we've got now, James Fisher-Harris is very much in that mould as well. They always say he doesn't say too much, but when he does speak, they all listen.
Yep.
And I think Mitch Barnett's a little bit more of a talker there. So yeah, and yeah, we've had some great captains over the years. Obviously in different moulds, like some of the best being like Steve Price had the gift of the gab, as we found out that night.
Yes.
And but he led from the front as well. Obviously, was such a sensational player. And then we've had on the other side of the coin, we've had Mannering, who was a little bit more quietly spoken. But yeah, it was a great moment. And like I said, we seem to do these things really well. Like last year with the whole SJ farewell, I thought all that was really well done, and adds to the theatrics of the Go Media Stadium home game experience, I think now, which they've set the bar pretty high.
Yeah, it does. Mate, I saw a comment in the chat before. CHT's really cemented that number 6 jersey. I think it was Jacko that said that.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I was not a fan of CHT. Not a fan. It wasn't that I wasn't a fan of CHT. I've loved CHT, but I wasn't a fan of him getting that 6 jersey ahead of maybe Tamati Martin. But yeah, he's been outstanding. I think in that role.
He's definitely there for the immediate future.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Dean Bell medal, mate. Round 2, Dean Bell medal. Do you remember who you gave your 3-2-1s to?
I do. I had to quickly remind myself because we had so many stars across the park that night. And I'm sure everyone's going to be going, what about this guy? What about this guy? 3 points, definitely to Wade Egan. He had one hell of a game. Looks like he's coming into his own again. Like there was that period at the start of last year as well where he was in sort of rare form, and his deception out of dummy half and his running game, just choosing the right times to run, not getting knocked out is a plus as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's a massive bonus if he can play like 80 minutes every week. It makes a lot of tackles and a constant threat in offense. And he got 3, scored that crucial try after his long break. And I think there's been a few comments made that he is going to be like almost like a centre point in our attack. So, when we've got sort of inexperienced halves, because Matty Johns has said it in Vegas and he said it again since, like, because we've got relatively inexperienced young halves, like Wade Egan will chime in as that third sort of playmaker as well. We can centre our attack around.
Yep.
So yeah, he got 3 points for me. He was outstanding. 2 points went to Aaron Clark for all the reasons that you just mentioned. Like he was just a powerhouse. Constantly looked like he was going to break the line. Busy in offense and defense, and yeah, definitely. With all due respect to Jazz, definitely an upgrade. I feel in terms of the team dynamic. At one point, when to Tane, mate, you said it. He looks dangerous every time he touches the ball. We used to call him the half break king. But now he's starting to convert some of those half breaks to full breaks.
Yes.
It's no secret that he's one of my favourite players, if not my favourite Warrior at the moment. And I'm just loving seeing him being in the team and doing really well. We know some of his family up here, and they're such wonderful people. And yeah, great to see him doing well.
Absolutely, mate. I followed. Yeah, mate, I followed you in my 3 points. I got my 3 points to Wade Egan for all the things. House in the middle, landing 41 tackles, no misses, 143 run meters for a hooker. Absolutely amazing. 2 points to Aaron Clark, again, a powerhouse in the middle. Really helped lay a platform. Defensively was very strong. Every time he runs the ball, he runs it at just one pace, flat out. And I gave my 1 point to James Fisher-Harris. I thought Fisher-Harris, leading from the front, I thought he was a point of difference for us. And I don't know, if he doesn't play, I don't know if when Manly hit back with those 2 tries midway through the second half, I don't know if we hold on if Fisher-Harris isn't there.
Huge influence.
Yeah, absolutely massive influence. So I gave him my 1 point, which means Wade Egan gets the full 6 points this week, which he now joined.
looks like Hammer's got a few internet issues there. I don't have our full Dean Bell tally in front of us, so I'll have to wait until Hammer comes back. But I think he was going to say Wade Egan getting the full 6 points this week. Aaron Clark picking up 4 points and 1 point each to Tane Tuapiki and 1 point to James Fisher-Harris. That's what you were going to say, wasn't it, mate? Sorry, you dropped out a bit there.
Yes, I did say that. I said 1 point James Fisher-Harris. And was I given the full standings?
I didn't have them in front of me, but if you've got them there, if you could do the full standings for the first two
I can.
rounds.
I've got Egan and RTS on 6, Aaron Clark on 4, Dylan Walker on 3, JFH and Barnett on 2 apiece, and Tuapiki on 1. So that's our Dean Bell medal standings for the season so far. Let's quickly just recap round 2, mate. I'll go through the scores. Thursday night we had the Knights 26 over the Dolphins 12. No real surprises in that game. The Saifidi on Saifidi for the first time in their careers was quite nice. Friday night we won Warriors 36 over Manly 16. The second game, the Roosters 38 over the Panthers 32. Who would have picked that?
Stealing our thunder, like after our upset, they go and produce arguably an even bigger upset. Yeah, it was a good game to watch. They were on the Roosters. They're going to be tough opposition next week.
Yeah, those young forwards that they had coming out and playing, really didn't give any worry to what the Panthers' reputation was. They just played the game that was in front of them, and they really took it to the Panthers. And you're right, they'll be a tough opposition this week, as they always are for us. I don't think we've beaten the Roosters since 2015 or something. 2018, is it? There you go. Yeah. Saturday, the Rabbits 25 over the Dragons 24. A bit of controversy in this after the game with Shane Flanagan calling out Lachlan Ilias for his performance, and then retracting his comment.
Yeah,
a couple of days. Sharks 36 over the Cowboys 12. No surprises there. Cowboys look like they're in a world of pain this season.
Yeah, feel for Toddy.
And another, I suppose you could call it a upset with the Raiders 32 over the Brisbane Broncos 22. Didn't Reece Walsh have a buster of a game? Everything he touched.
He had a reverse Reece Walsh game at the moment. I don't know what Mick Ennis wouldn't know what to do with himself. His biggest fan. So didn't have the greatest game, old Reece. But the Raiders were super impressive. They're a real force to be reckoned with this year. They are. Makes me feel a little bit better about Vegas as well.
Yes, absolutely. We got beaten by a good side in Vegas. Sunday footy kicked off with the Tigers getting their first win of the season, 32 over the Eels. Was it 6 for the Eels?
6, 32.
Or 4? Yes, 32-6.
32-6, yeah.
Yeah, so, Zach Lomax will be very happy he made that move to the Eels.
I don't know if that says more about the Tigers or the Eels, that game. What do you think?
I think it says a little bit about both. It shows that because don't forget, this was Spoon Bowl, last round of last season.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I think the Eels got up against the Tigers and
did, yeah.
The Tigers held them to nil pretty much most, had no impact whatsoever. Actually the Tigers do okay. We've both got mates that are big Tigers fans.
We do. Yeah, I would never begrudge the Tigers a win unless it's in the Mike Doreen Cup. So, yeah.
Which is 2 weeks away, mate. 2 weeks away.
Yeah, it is.
Then the final game
crept up on us.
It is, isn't it? Final game of the round was the Bulldogs 40 over the Titans 24. In a losing side, great to see Big Tino, my mate Big Tino, make his return, a successful return.
Long season, brah.
Yeah, long season, brah. It is a long season, Tino. Get used to those scorelines. And, of course, the Storm had the bye. I don't have the ladder in front of me. I think we're sitting on around about 11th or 12th
Something
at the moment.
Like that. Yeah, just outside the 8.
Couple of teams. Yeah, -2 on our for and against, which is good because before that we did. Just quickly, the pathways over the weekend. I don't think there was any game in the Harold Matts and the SG Ball. So no results to talk of there. Flegg, they lost 32-28 over Manly. They're still 0-2. Well, they're now 0-2 for the season. And our Cup team, 31-20 over Manly. They're 2-0. So they've started the season running. A couple of big name players running around in our reserve grade in Tanner Boyd and Tamati Martin in the halves. We've got Rocco Berry mixing it up in the centres there, and Jacob Laban, who I don't think will be too far away from a first grade call-up. Very talented back row that he is. Mate, round 3. We spoke about it before. Up against the Roosters. Bit of history here. When was the last time we beat the Roosters?
2018. So it was that game you were at the old Sydney Football Stadium.
Oh yeah, round 4, 2018.
Round 4, yeah, it was a massive day that day. It was one of our great wins actually.
30-4. 30-4.
30-4 or 6, something like that. It was very impressive. It's sort of we had a really good start to that year, but then I think Sean Johnson was injured for that game, so Mason Lino came in. Had a blinder.
Yep.
I remember Big Fuss plucking the ball out of the air to score a try, and guys like Levaha Pulu and some of the guys that we'd signed that year really had big games. I remember, and it was kind of a taste of things to come. But yeah, since then, it's been slim pickings against Roosters. And it would be another monkey to get off our back if we could beat them. But we're in a very good position to do so at the moment. So I'll just go through the team here. At fullback, we got Chance Nickel Kluckster. On the wings, Tain Tuapiki and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Ali Leotawa and Adam Pompey in the centres. Chanel Harris, Tavita and Luke Metcalf in the halves. And the forward pack up front, James Fisher-Harris, Wade Egan and Mitch Barnett in the front row. Back row of Kurt Capewell, Murata Niokore and Aaron Clark. And on the change bench, Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford, Dimitri Vaimunga, Laka Halasima. And the extended bench consists of Jacob Laban, Temare Martin, Freddie Lussick, Funty Apoa, and Rocco Berry. Basically, it is an unchanged 17 from last week, and it's hard to see any real changes being made there. But when I look at that team, you see that Jacob Laban is there in the number 18 jersey, and it would just be really good to see him squeezed in the team somewhere. And I would have said at the expense of Jacko Ford, but he actually came on last week and played pretty well. And did his job, so he probably deserves to have another shot. Some of the other guys I mentioned, Capewell still seems to be struggling a little bit, missing a few tackles. So interesting to see what happens, what they do with Jacob Laban. He's going to get opportunities. There's going to be injuries. But otherwise, I think we match up fairly well against the Roosters. Although, you look at that forward pack, they've had a lot of guys that have come back into that forward pack. Spencer Leniu, then you've got Nafahu White, who had a great game last week, and then Angus Crichton, Siwa Wong, Victor Radley back in there as well, and there's a little bit of speed in their back line. Tedesco Tupou. So I'm going to call him Mark because I don't want to butcher his name, but he has been very impressive coming over from rugby union. It's Nwanga Nitawasi.
Yeah, that's it. Nwanga Nitawasi.
Yeah. Interesting matchup in the halves. So sort of a couple of, should we say, unheralded halves pairings coming up against each other.
Yep.
So you've got Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend, former Warrior, of course, bit of a journeyman these days, played for quite a few clubs, and probably the back end of his career up against the young pairing with Chanel Harris DeVita and Luke Metcalf. So that'll be an interesting matchup there as well. What are your thoughts on the team and sort of how we match up against this Roosters side?
Well, no surprises that he's picked the same 17 yet again. Who did the job on Manly last week at home? These guys, they've earned the right to run out again. So I'm not surprised at all. I think the only thing that would have changed is via injury. That doesn't surprise me. I think the Roosters line up will have they've got similar gameplay to what Manly have in like Manly have, big wingers like Jason Saab. The Roosters have two of them in Young and Tupu, who are very good under the high ball. Tedesco plays that link ball player type role. Like Tommy Turbo, he's got his hands on the ball a couple of times every set, backs up his middle forwards quite well, and then he swings out the back and creates that link play out to his outside men. So I think if we defend that the same way we defended against Turbo and Manly's outside speed, I think we will go a long way to winning this. Mark, what is it? Nawonga Tana Tawasi.
Nawonga ni Tawasi.
Tawasi, yeah. So he's shown that he's a very quick learner of the game. Very, very dynamic centre. That's a great matchup against Ali Lautua, who's coming into maybe his 10th NRL game. Marky Mark playing his 3rd or 4th. So that's going to be an interesting battle. You spoke about the inexperienced halves. I think that's where the game will be won for us, because a guy like Chad Townsend does have a pretty good kicking game. He is a noted 40-20 kicker. So if we can put pressure on him, similar to what we did to DCE and Luke Brooks. I didn't even notice Luke Brooks in last week's game.
Yeah.
It was that ineffective.
Yeah.
So if we
Tigers Brooks.
yeah, if we can pressure them defensively, we can take away their time and space. That will give us a lot of momentum. Both teams coming off good victories. As I said before, this young Roosters forward pack, they'll take confidence from that game against the Panthers last week. Although I know one of those guys has been suspended. For Techie, I think it is suspended. They get, as you said, they do get Spencer Leniu back. He's straight back into that run on side. They need somebody to kind of take it to Fisher Harris. Lindsay Collins dropped back to the bench, so he's going to be great as an impact player. We know what he's like in the opening minutes of a game. But I think it comes back to the Warriors needing to be patient and play the long game. We need to defend well, kick to the corners, have a good kick chase, do those little 1% as well, stay connected, build pressure. And if we do all those little things, I think the game will come to us. And, we may... I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout scoreline.
Yeah.
And I think it'll come to us in the final 6 or 7 minutes is where we'll kind of get a bit of a gap in the scoreline. And I think it'll be like a 2-point game for a lot of this game, back and forth, and we'll break out. We'll get an 8-point win in the end. That's my tip.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. I can see this being like an arm wrestle, and yeah, like you said, into the final 10, which used to be our Bermuda Triangle, as Bossy always say, Warriors games don't even begin until the final 10 minutes.
Yes.
That's the old Warriors, Bossy,
yeah.
right? This is new Warriors. But I tend to agree it's going to be very tight. We might trade tries with them. And then I think the advantage of having like that smaller forward pack is that we are a bit more mobile, a little bit more, and a little bit fitter, and that can sort of come to the fore at the back end of the game, sort of like what we did, in 2023. So I think we can get them, in the final 10.
Yep.
And I'm going to say I think we might get like a 12-point win.
Ooh, 12. I like that.
Yeah.
The more points, the better. We need to start building that points differential because it's so important at the back end of the season.
It's crucial. It's crucial. You can literally miss out in the finals because of it. If you have a momentary lapse and have a bad day and concede 30, 40, 50 points, and it can be the difference.
Who, if you had to name one guy that kind of really has to improve on his recent performances in the past 2 weeks, who would you nominate in our Warriors lineup?
I really want more out of Marata Niokore. Like we said, like he's not hitting those holes like we would like a lot of the other second rows do, and like Ali did last week. He seems to just sort of run straight into defence. No doubt he's a big, strong man, but it'd be great if he could, hit those gaps and be a bit more of a threat on the edge. In fact, pretty much probably both of our second rollers. I feel could go up a gear or two, and
Yep.
would make us more threat on the edges.
I agree. For me, it's
Yourself?
Kurt Capewell. I think Kurt Capewell's defensively has been a little bit off in the first 2 weeks. I think round one he had 8 missed tackles or 9 missed tackles. He had another few missed tackles on the weekend. I think he's one that really needs to step up. He's a senior player. He's a state of origin player. So he's a guy that really needs to step up. But the ones for me is Webby. I'd like to see Demetric and Lecker get more game time. Come into the game a little bit earlier than what they do and be given a little bit more opportunity to play some footy. 2 huge talents. We've seen what they can do in the past, and I'd really like to see them get some more time on the field.
Yeah, we might need them. Might need more out of them as well. So
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Injuries and whatnot.
There you have it. We've both picked a Warriors victory this week. Make of that what you will.
Read into that what you will, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. The rest of round three. Round 3 kicks off tomorrow night at Amy Park. The Storm taking on the Penrith Panthers. Mate, this is going to be a crack. This is a grand final replay. That was a grand final last year.
It is grand final replay. Yep. Big time.
Going to be a cracking game for the Storm. Will Warbrick's out. Grant Anderson's named on the wing. For the Panthers, Dylan Edwards, a huge out for them. He's going to be out for the next few weeks. Dane Laurie named as his replacement at fullback. Mate, I'm going to pick the Storm. It's very rare that the Panthers lose 2 in a row, but I think the Storm will take it to them in this game. A full-strength Storm outfit. Pappenhausen, Munster, Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant in that spine. I think Dylan Edwards is a big out for the Panthers because he does play such an integral part in their attack. For me, it's a Storm. In a close one, but the Storm.
Yeah, it's always going to be close because that's the Panthers. Like, they never throw in the towel. You saw the back end of last game. They threw everything at the Roosters to try and win that. So, yeah, I think the Storm by about 8 points. And, they've just got way too much strike. They could have scored 70 or 80 against Para round one, but they took their foot off the gas a bit in the second half. And they're looking red hot again this year, unfortunately for us.
They are. Friday night, game 1, Warriors versus Roosters. Warriors, no changes. Roosters, Linneo returns at front row. Victor Radley at lock. Lindsay Collins drop backs to the bench. We've both picked the Warriors in 8 to 10 point victories in that one. The second game, the Broncos finally get back to Suncorp Stadium.
The NRL will be so happy.
They will. Broncos taking on the Cowboys at Suncorp. Broncos have made no changes to the side that was beaten by Canberra last week. For the Cowboys, Robert Derby's been named on the wing for Braden Burns, who's out injured. Jake Clifford named at halfback to replace Tom Duffy, who's lasted 2 games, and Toddy's hooked him. Jason Taumalolo returns from injury. He's named in the front row. Jeremiah Nanai, a big return. He returns to 17, but going to be coming off the bench. I still think the Broncos, mate. I think last week was an anomaly. Canberra proved that. I think that game said more about Canberra than it did about the Broncos. I'm going to tip the Broncos. I think the Broncos will win this one pretty easily.
I think the Broncos are going to come out breathing fire and right in their element. Friday night, Suncorp Stadium, Channel 9 game. They're going to put on a big performance. They're going to destroy the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
But I feel a bloodbath.
Yep. Saturday kicks off. Super Saturday kicks off with the Sharks and Rabbits playing at what's now called Sharks Stadium. Yeah, the Sharks, no changes to their 17. The Rabbits, Jack Whiten returns from suspension. Fletcher Meyer moves to the wing to enable Jack to take his place in the centres. Lockie Hubner has been suspended. Tallis Duncan named at lock, but I'm hearing that he's now going to succumb to injury. So not real sure who's going to come into that space. Rabbits have played quite well the last couple of weeks. Jamie Humphries has been a revelation at halfback. But I think the Sharks will be too strong. Sharks by 10.
Yeah, Sharks too good at home. I think they'll win by 14. I think they'll get done reasonably comfortably. Yeah.
Next game on Saturday is the Dolphins and the Tigers at KO Stadium, the old Red Cliff Stadium. We got some fond memories at KO, mate.
We sure do. We sure do. One of our favourite stadiums. Yep.
It is. It is. Dolphins, no changes. Tigers, no changes. Dolphins have really surprised me. I did tip them to make the 8, and I know we're only in round 2, but I think they're going to suffer their 3rd consecutive loss. I think the Tigers are going to get them, and I think the Tigers will. I don't think they'll win by the margin they won last week, but I think it'll be a little bit bigger than what people think. I'm going to say Tigers by 13 plus.
Yeah, the Dolphins seem to be in a bit of a rut. They certainly should have won first week. Struggled a bit last week to get into the game. Tigers, I could just feel a sort of a mauling here. So I think Tigers will come out and surprise them. They'll be red hot form for the head of the Mike Doreen Cup.
Yeah, great. I've got my tickets for that too. I thought I'd just let you know. So
bring the trophy so we can present it at full time. There we go.
Yeah, I'll give it.
Never lost it.
I'll give it to James. I'll give it to James Fisher Harris. He'll look at it and go, "What the fuck is that?" For those that don't know, as a Garbo, I found this in garbage cleanup. So it's become the Mike Doreen Cup, but it's got a plaque on it. It's from the Grafton Show camel races from 2009.
Same thing, same prestige.
What is that? There you go.
Yeah. Grafton camel races. What would you throw that? That's got to be right there in the pool room, surely.
Absolutely. Who is it? Natasha Shannon. Oh, I don't know what you're thinking.
Natasha, what were you thinking? Give yourself an uppercut.
The final game on Super Saturday is the Titans and Knights at Seabus Super Stadium. For the Titans, Tony Francis is named on the wing for the injured Cam Pereira. For the Knights, Leo Thompson and Kai Pearce-Paul, both suspended. I love when they say him on the thing, Piss-Paul. Piss-Paul. Sounds like they're saying Piss-Paul. And Brodie Jones starts in the front row. Adam Inger at lock. Mate, I like what I saw from the Titans. I think the Titans are going to build to something this year, maybe, but I just think the Knights, Kalen Ponga, Fletcher Sharp, Bradman Best, those guys, even Dane Gaggai's having a great start to the season. I think they got those. I think the Knights will get it.
Yeah, you look at the Knights on paper and you go, geez, that's an average team, apart from like a couple of players here and there, but they keep winning. They're just one of those teams that can just do enough to get sort of be there or thereabouts around the finals time. Mate, if Ponga keeps up his form, then I don't think that the Titans will be able to keep up with him. Look, they do look like they have a few points in them. The Titans, like they scored 24 against that Bulldogs defence last week. Cam Pereira got 3 of them though, and he's not playing. So I think that that the Knights will get away in a close one.
Yeah. Sunday footy, the Channel 9 game of the round is the Eels versus Bulldogs at CommBank Stadium. Surely they would have known. Anyway, for the Eels, mate, Ronnie Volkman, ex-Warrior Ronnie Volkman, he's been given the flick. He's been replaced in the halves by Dean Hawkins. Josh Adokar named on the extended bench alongside Ryan Madison, and the late mail is that Josh Adokar will make his Eels debut this weekend at the expense of one of those, probably Samrani, I think. I think Sean Russell will keep his spot. For the Bulldogs, Bailey Howard replaces the injured Matt Burton in the halves. Satili Tupanua replaces Kickout in the back row, both out injured. Curtis Morin named on the bench. Even without Matt Burton, I can't see the Bulldogs losing this game, and I picked the Bulldogs, and I think they're going to be relentless, and they'll get the Eels by 20.
Yeah, at least. I think, the Bulldogs will be way too strong.
And the final game of the round, Manly Sea Eagles at home at 4 Pines Park up against the high-flying Canberra Raiders. DCE and Turbo have both been named, despite not finishing last week's game. Tolutau Koula also named to return in the centres. Siwa Taukiaho returns in the front row. Josh Aloiai drops to the bench for the Raiders. Xavier Savage returns on the wing. Young Tamale holds onto his wing spot over Albert Hopewate. And Morgan Smithies replaces Zach Hosking in the starting pack. Zach Hosking out for a couple of weeks with injury. G Big Red, Corey Horsburgh's been good to start the season. Mate, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to tip the Raiders against Manly at Manly's spiritual home. I think the Raiders will get them by about 8.
Yeah, look, I'm going to agree with you here. I think their form's quite irresistible at the moment. How do you get a read on Manly? Just complete hot and cold performance. I found a bit like that ever since Siebes has been heavily entrenched in there. So
heavily entrenched? What do you mean heavily entrenched?
Heavily entrenched. He's like that. You know when Gordon Chan Kum Tong approached those fans, that reminded me of Siebes, like asking back to you blokes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do that. Like, just ignore it. But yeah, the Raiders got a win there last year as well. They came from a huge deficit and came back and beat Manly at rookie last year. And I think they can do it again. They're like, how can you tip against them after those two performances they put together? I think it'll be close, but I'm going to go the Raiders by 4.
And the Dragons have the bye. Before we move on, mate, you brought up that incident with Gordon Chan Kum Tong. What did you make of it? I thought it was quite good that the guy who was caught in that incident, the Warriors fan, made a post on social media. He released the video that just basically shows that they didn't sledge Jake Turbo in any way. They just, thanked him very much for doing something and going to the bin. What do you think the NRL will take this any further with Chan Kum Tong?
I don't know. Like, it's just a weird kind of incident. Like, why get involved? Why even do that? Like, if they just said that nothing was said, like it's hard to imagine as a player what would possess you to go and do that kind of thing. Like, go up and actually physically grab a supporter. It's really bizarre, and I think you've just got to ignore that kind of thing as a player and just kind of rise above it. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of physically grabbing people, Richie Agar's been stood down for 3 weeks, I think it is.
Yeah, suspended for three matches. So so I'll have to. Do they have replacement assistant coaches? They have a coaching reserve grade that they can.
Stacey just has to carry two clipboards this weekend.
And
have
clipboards.
And have or maybe Tohu can jump in and do something. I don't know, but yeah. And the final bit of news that dropped this today on social media, Warangi Korpu. His name suppression order's been lifted. He was named as someone that has been charged with possession and supply, I think. Don't really know the full story of what goes on, so we'll just have to wait and see. But similar to Manu, I think.
It's disappointing. Disappointing to see ex-players from the club, obviously being caught up in this kind of thing.
Yep.
After the Manu Batabai incident from a few years ago.
If found guilty, he faces 14 years in prison. And as you said, he did a lot of stuff last year, and on the return back to Mount Smart the year before.
Wild.
Yep,
he's kind of stuff. He's very good on that show. He's done well transitioning into that sort of media role, and that's why it's sort of even more disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
watch this space. I'm sure there'll be more said about that incident. Patreon, mate.
Yeah, mate. Well, I just want to say a big thanks to all you guys who do support us on Patreon. As I said before, great to have Sean here with us. He's one of our Gold Patreons. And thank you to all you guys who are Gold Patreons for your continued support. It is a great help to us, and all the money goes back straight into the show to pay for our licenses and fees and all that kind of thing to bring you the product that we do every week. So thanks again. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, the link is on the screen there. It's patreon.com/roo_and_hammer. For as little as $3 a month, you can support us with here at Roo and Hammer, and there's gold, silver, and bronze package. And if you are interested in becoming a gold Patreon, that entitles you to some of our merchandise as well from our Redbubble store. And speaking of merchandise, if merchandise is your thing and you'd like to get your hands on some of our tees, jump onto our Roo and Hammer store. That's at Redbubble. So that's redbubble.com/people/roo-and-hammer/shop. Make sure you go through the Roo and Hammer shop. So we do, so all your commission does come back again into the show, and we can put that towards all the expenses that we have to do with the show. And we thank you guys, all you guys who have purchased shirts over the last couple of years. We've got some new designs coming. So if you like player shirts celebrating different moments in Warriors history, you want an Up the Wires shirt, we've got several versions of that now. So jump on there, have a look, and grab yourself some new threads.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps it up for tonight's show. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us. We really do appreciate your support. We'll be back the same time next week, 7 o'clock Sydney time, 6 p.m. Queensland time, 9 p.m. New Zealand time, where we will review our win against the Roosters this Friday night and preview the 2025 Mike Doreen Cup. As
Yes.
Rob did allude to, we've never lost the Mike Doreen Cup, and we only get the one game this year against the Tigers, so we definitely...
No, is there not a second game?
Nah, pretty sure there's not.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's not, mate. I think there's only one. I could be wrong.
I thought we did have a game against them later in the season at Mount Smart. But either way, if we do happen to slip up and lose the coveted Mike Doreen Cup, then...
we do. You're right. Round 19.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Round 19. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So don't worry. If we do happen to have a hiccup out there at Campbelltown, and I know you'll be there because it's your favourite game at your favourite ground at your favourite time slot, 6 p.m. on a Sunday night.
Yeah. Should I let everyone know that I've been to many games at Campbelltown Stadium where the Warriors have played the Tigers, and I've never seen us win there ever. I think I've been to 7 games there, and then the 1 year that I was going to go that I didn't go was what year was that? Was that 22? And it was the worst.
Worst win that we've ever had. Yeah. I don't know if you can have like a worst ever win, but that's in the grand final of worst ever wins that game.
That was.
We were bad. The Tigers were just worse.
Yep. So going to that game, I'll be taking Brandon with me. He's a massive Tigers fan. So one of us is going to be very upset. And
is the Great One going to make an appearance?
No, he's not. The Great One's down the south coast, and he's still kicking on. Still got some health issues, but he's still kicking on. So love you, the Great One.
Shout out, mate. Yeah, shout out to you,
absolutely. Mate. So that wraps it up for tonight's show. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Up the Wars.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe and up the Wars.